Books are a uniquely portable magic. Stephen King on writing. Hello, friends. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Inside the Writer's Cafe. I'm Cheryl Nason. Now, our show features not only the hottest authors, but we also introduce you to exciting new authors. We like to talk to them about themselves and find out a little bit about who they are, and we also like to find out about their latest work. Joining me today is a poet, Karl Kevin Smith, and he's here to talk about his latest volume, Intuitions, a book of poems. Karl, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You know, I was reading some information about you preparing for the interview, and I'd like for you to tell our listeners how you became interested in writing poetry. I'm a former English teacher, and I think this is a great story.
I became interested in writing poetry in the 12th grade when Mr. Logan gave us poetry assignments. We had to create a book with about 6 to 10 poems in it. And I remember trying to figure out what poetry was. I never will forget this because I was sitting down in the living room looking through the front storm door. And I looked through the storm door for about, I'm going to say anywhere between 1 hour to 2 hours, just trying to figure out how to do it. Then the idea dawned on me what poetry really is. And poetry isn't nothing but it's creative writing. So that means that you can endow anything with human qualities. And once I figured that out, then I didn't have a problem writing no more.
I love it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think when somebody really is interested in poetry and they start to think about it and they start to think about what can they do and how can they do it. I love your story, and I love it that you sat there and you thought about it for a long time, and then you decided, you know what? I can do this, because so many people are so intimidated by the idea of writing poems. And I love what you just said.
Thank you.
Now, your new book has a lot of poems in it. It has 112 poems. And one of the things that struck me was that the first two poems in the book, one of them is called Ode to the Mobility Air Forces, and the other one is Fallen Hero. They're both dedicated to a general, General Raymond E. Johns, U.S. Air Force and SAFB. How did General Johns inspire you, and why did you dedicate those two poems to him?
Well, I used to deliver mail out at Scott Air Force Base for over 34 years, and he was stationed out at Scott. And his liaison officer had told me that General Johns needed some poems written. And what the liaison officer had did, he had looked at my website, and he had liked it. And once he did that, I said, well, I'll see General Johns eventually because I deliver his mail. I'll catch him on a Saturday because I know Monday through Friday he's working. So I caught him on a Saturday. And me and him, we spoke. He told me what he had wanted and stuff like that. And then he also told me that the liaison officer would be giving me the rest of the information that I needed. So while General Johns was talking to me, I was getting the ideas in my head right then and there. So when I got back to the mail truck, I wrote down about 5 paragraphs right off the top just by listening to him. And after that, then the following Monday, the liaison officer gave me the rest of the work, everything else that I needed. So I just looked over it, and one thing I had to do was change 2 paragraphs because I'm looking right there. I said, oh, okay, I know what this is. So it came to me just like that. Then I wrote it up, and I mailed it to General Johns, and he liked it.
You've got a true gift. You've got a true gift, Karl.
Thank you.
I mean, if you can sit down and see something like that after an initial conversation and just immediately begin to be creative with whatever the conversation was. That's a true gift.
But you know what? It was, to me, when I was speaking to General Johns, it was like doing an open book test. I'm serious, because what he did, he threw everything vividly in my imagination that was required. After that, I'm just looking at it. I'm mentally looking at it, and that's, it just came out like that. And once I saw the paperwork from the liaison officer, after that, hey, it was over. All I got to do is just look at it. If I can see it, I got it.
That's just true creativity. There are 112 poems in this book. That's a pretty big amount of work. How long did it take you, Karl, to write those 112 poems?
It took me, 4 years. It took me 4 years to do it.
Now, there are a variety of themes. I mean, it's not one theme throughout the book. You've got a whole variety of themes. Would something just inspire you, and then you'd sit down and write a poem about it? How does that work? How does your creative process work for you?
I'm going to tell you how mine goes. I don't even think about writing. This is how it works for me. I could be watching TV, taking a shower, walking outside, driving a car, and if when inspiration hits, I just write it down, and I'll catch about, I say about 70 to 80% of it initially, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then once I come back home and start writing, I might write anywhere between 2 to 8 hours nonstop. That's just getting it right in my mind mentally, okay? And once I get finished with that phase of it, I can tell if it's not complete, because it will always stay on my mind, okay? And anytime it stays on my mind, I know it's not complete. So I guess mentally I'm trying to figure out how to complete it, and then it'll just come to me.
That's really true creativity. Let's share one of your poems with our listeners.
Okay. This poem is titled Sleeping Baby. Trapped inside a womb called tomb. DOA before I could live a day. No pains, no screams, or even dreams. Did I fall asleep and wake up dead? Life no more visits my head. Outside the womb, there is no life. I'll never be called husband or wife, daughter or son, or even no fun. I don't even know my name. Stillborn I am, has taken its claim.
That's powerful social commentary, Karl. And I know that there are other themes throughout your book. I know that you talk about romance, you talk about love, you talk about grief and pain and loss, friendship, gratitude, mental illness, healing. You deal with all of those different themes in the book. Did you have a target audience in mind, or were you writing this to try to get everybody to read your poetry?
I look at it like this. I try to incorporate everyone, because this is what I believe in. If you write stuff that's real, it should resonate to everyone.
I know your mother passed, and I know that was a source of pain. I'm really terribly sorry. I've lost my mother as well, and I know that
Right.
pain of that loss. It's just unbelievable. But you took your writing and you used your writing as a way to deal with some of that pain. Is that right?
Right, that's correct. You know what? This is what I did. I graduated high school from East St. Louis Senior High in 1978. From 1978 until 2001, I hadn't picked up a pen or tried to do any more writing at all, okay? When my mom passed away, I just started thinking and stuff like that. Then I started writing again. And I wrote for a little bit over 10 and a half years before I published my first book.
Wow. And this is your second.
Right, this is my second one. My first one, is titled Eclectic Whispers. But when I wrote the first one, whereas I had written a little bit over 10 and a half years nonstop, that gave me a chance to cherry pick. Once you got over 10 years of writing and you're doing your first book, you just can cherry pick everything, okay?
Right.
And that's what it was. I was just picking out the best of the best, and that's what I did. And like book one, Eclectic Whispers, it's more creative, but this book right here, Intuitions, it's more deeper. It's deeper. And I liked both of them, but if I had my druthers, I would pick Intuitions, the one with the deeper meaning, over the one that's more creative.
And your heart is very open in this book as well. Let's talk a little bit about where the listeners can find the book. Now, I went to Amazon. Let me give the title of the book specifically, and let me do some spelling so that they can go to Amazon if they want to and find it. The title is Intuitions, Intuitions, a book of poems by Karl, Karl, Kevin, Kevin, Smith, Smith. If you go to the Amazon website, there's a search feature up at the top. If you just type in what I said and click on it, Karl's book comes right up. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's always a little notation that says click here to open. If you click there, it opens the book up, and there is a beautiful excerpt from the book. It's so many of these wonderful poems that you can read those poems, get a feel for your work, and then buy the book right there. Where else, Karl, can they find the book?
Okay, they can also go to my website, www.karlkevinsmith, and once you go to that website, it has preview poems of about 20% of Intuitions, and it has another 20% of the first book I wrote, titled Eclectic Whispers also. And you can also go to Author House.
Yes, I think it's available on the Author House.
On Author House too. That's on there too. So once you get to the website, it's going to prompt you to where you can purchase the book.
Now it's available in softcover, hardcover, and an electronic version. Is that right?
Electronic version, and it's a voice book also.
Are you doing any of the social media?
No, not really. I'm not doing the social media myself, but it's in the process of being done.
So we can look for you on social media in the future.
Right, that's correct.
If you could leave our listeners with some final thoughts about your work and about Intuitions in particular, what would you like to leave them with, Karl?
And this is what I would like to leave them with. When I do the work, I'm serious about the work, and I try to give 100% in everything I do. And this is something else I believe in. I believe in letting the audience read about 20% of the book for free. And they can see that at my website at www.karlkevinsmith. And then if you like that 20%, I know that the other 80% is just as good or maybe even better. And then they can make up their mind if they want to purchase the book or not.
Excellent. It's been such an absolute pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for taking time out of what I know is a busy day to talk with us and our listeners today.
And also thank you.
Our time is up, and we'd like to thank you, our listeners, for yours. Remember, pick up a good book of poetry, and read.